Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel and my craft table. Welcome if you're new. Today I am so excited. I am sharing with you a Christmas present. So I received this Spellbinders Glimmer machine from Santa. This is a hot foil machine and this coordinates with my Platinum 6 die cutting machine, and it allows me to do hot foiling on my paper projects. So I'm going to showcase that with you here today. Before we get into the actual card, let me tell you about the Glimmer system and all of the things that came with the bundle. So as you can see, I did already unbox that. This is the Glimmer machine. This particular bundle came with a silicone pad to place your hot foil plates here, or your press plates. It comes with a very strong magnet to help pick those up off of this hot surface. It comes with 2 different rolls of hot foil for you to try, and also a spacer pad and a thin shim. It does have a little booklet for all the information about how the machine works, and of course it requires electricity, so it has a nice plug. Before we dive in, I wanted to tell you about the brand new Spellbinders monthly card making challenge. Now this particular month is ending soon. I thought it may have gone to the end of the month, but it actually ends on the 26th. And this challenge theme is January Glam, Foil and Shine. Now you don't necessarily have to do foiling. You could also choose metallic cardstock, specialty papers, shimmering accents, and any other luxe finishes and fibers to your cards that you want to include. So if you're interested in participating in this challenge, you can go to spellbindersblog.com. I'll leave a link down below in the description, and you can check out all of the details and requirements so you can get in on this month's challenge. All right, so for today's card, we're going to be using this machine, and I'm going to use this gold foil here. I just wanted to show you this foil that came in the bundle. So I recently purchased this variety pack of hot foil from Spellbinders, and it just has like a silver, gold, and then 2 other colors. I think one is like a rose champagne color, and then one is more like a golden, yellowish gold. And then I have the Better Press plates in my stash, and this one is gorgeous, and I've been wanting to use this for so long. So I have a really cool technique that I want to try. We're going to use this press plate. You can use the press plates on the Glimmer foil machine. Hot foil plates cannot be used on your Better Press machine, just in case you're interested in both of those. And then I have another press plate. This has a sentiment in here that I want to use. And then the leftover foil that you'll see what I'm talking about when we get started, but the leftover foil, I'm going to actually use that for another project. So I have a solid hot foil plate, and then you've got this big piece of foil with, you know, an image through it. You can still use that. So I'll show you how this works. I do have a variety of regular card making things. I have my Spellbinders 6 sitting off to the side. I went ahead and went through my little DIY color deck. I'm kind of going more for like a soft Valentine's Day kind of theme. So I really like these colors. So what I did is I pulled some colors from my alcohol markers. I've got those here ready to go because we're actually going to be coloring after we hot foil. If you ever get into alcohol markers, it's very helpful for you to have a swatch sheet like that. And this allowed me to kind of go through this picture here and pick out the colors that I have in my stash that I wanted to use for this card. I may or may not add another dimensional element, some little leaves here to be die cut. I have a little scrap of green cardstock, and I might add some ink dimension. And then for an inside sentiment, I'm going to use this one here. It says, "I think you're wonderful." And this is from the Pick Me Up Turnabout stamp set from Concord and Knife. And this is what that looks like. I love turnabout stamps. They are super fun. But I want to use this sentiment, so I have my VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink pad, and then I've got my cardstock to do the foiling. I have a black piece of cardstock that I'm going to be doing as a mat, and of course I have my 110-pound cardstock for the card base. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to take these shims off. Here is our glimmer machine, and I'm going to show you how this works. You plug it here into the back, and the shape just helps you figure out which direction the plug goes. And then the on button is here, and we're going to turn it on. This little platform here, you do need to make sure it is firmly in the machine. So it has a little receiving end here, and then this platform here has like the little computer chip. So all of this just goes in just like that. It's very, very smooth. When you turn it on, the lights will pop up. You'll see the red power light. When the platform is heated, this green light will come on, and that way we'll know that we can put our all our materials on the platform. And then once we put everything on there, we'll hit the timer. So let's go ahead and let's get this press plate. We'll get it ready. Okay, and I have used this once already, and I actually like to put the hot foil plate on here and just let it heat up. So I'm going to put that there. I do want to go ahead and foil the sentiment, and I don't have a die for this sentiment, so I will have to fussy cut that. These are some sentiments. These are from Spellbinders as well, but I really like the one that says, "Your friendship means the world." So I'm going to pull that one off here. Now, if I was really smart, what I would do is I would probably grab some more of these. So maybe I want to do "Your kindness means everything." We'll just go ahead and add that on there. Just wanted to say thanks. Where is that one? Okay. So I think we're gonna use these. Once it's heating, if you need to move your press plate, then you can just pick it up with this, because it is warm and it does get really, really hot. And then you would hit this little button right here, and that will release it. So I'm going to put that one there. I think that one's okay. I'll put that one here. I think that one's okay. So there we go. I'm going to let those heat up. I'm going to move all of this other out of the way. And again, the beauty is these are better press plates, so they can be inked and used through my better press system. Beautiful results, super fine detail. And then I can also use them here on the glimmer machine. So it's kind of like getting like two products in one. So I actually don't have to buy hot foil plates specifically unless I really want to. So I'm very excited because I have quite a few better press plates. All right, while that is heating up, I am going to get my little sheet of foil here, right? And it's very, very fine, comes in a roll. Now I will tell you that hot foil is very different than foil transfer sheets. So foil transfer sheets are, they don't go here on the glimmer system, and they are used, you can use them with like an adhesive or a transfer gel or even a laminator. They are toner reactive, but this requires this super high heat to work properly. All right, so if I just hover over here, then I'm gonna need about that much there. And I'm just gonna grab my scissors, and I'm just gonna go right down the side here, set that over there. And then let me double check, am I gonna be covered? Okay, so I think this positioning is going to be better. Everything is a little more clustered together. We're going to be trimming all that apart anyway, and you can see that the foil will cover all of that. Now you can see that my platform is ready. Okay, so when the platform is ready, the light turns green, and we're just going to place our hot foil sheet on top of there, and we're going to hit the timer. It's going to blink, and then when it turns solid, I'll know that it's ready to go. All right, you can see that my timer button is now solid. So this is ready for me to foil. What I'm gonna do is place the cardstock on top, just like that. And then I'm gonna grab both of these plates. I'm gonna place them on top. I'm gonna move this over to the side because we're gonna need to bring in this Spellbinders 6 machine here. Okay, sorry for shaking that camera. Then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to carefully pull this out. The entire platform just comes out. This comes over, and this is going to go into my Spellbinders 6. Some people will go super, super slow, and some people will go back and forth. I have done both. I like to go slow. I know Jennifer McGuire just runs it back and forth through her machine. So the combination of the heat, the super high heat, the special kind of foil, and then the pressure from the die cutting machine allows you to foil paper with some very beautiful designs. Okay, we're gonna hope that this is great. So we're gonna take off these plates. Those can get set aside. And then I can pick up my cardstock. And you can see that the gold is now attached to the cardstock. I think this sentiment looks a little almost like it moved in there. And I can show you how to do that, but everything else looks really good. So what you want to do at this point is you would take these off, put them over here, and let these cool on their own before you put them away. And those are very, very hot, by the way. Okay, so let's take a look at what we have. I am going to gently pull this foil up. Okay, so let's talk about my results here. And I was kind of worried that this might happen. Going back and forth instead of going just super slow one time. So you can see where my sentiments are kind of like doubled. So I'm gonna need to redo those. But here is the bird image, and look how gorgeous that is. That is so gorgeous. Now, if you're familiar with embossing powder, so the Versamark stamp ink and the embossing powder and the little heat tool, this kind of gives me those vibes, but this is like, I don't know, y'all, it's a lot easier and a lot less messy, and I could see myself being very addicted to this. So I'm gonna set this aside because I want to show you what you do with the remainder. I don't want to waste all of this beautiful foil. So here is what I'm going to do. I'm going to take this solid square press plate, and it does come in, I believe, a heart, a circle, and an oval. Here is the press plate, nice and solid, just like before. Okay, the platform is ready. I'm going to put the plate down here, and oh, by the way, the platform does have markings here. Okay, so you can, like, these are inches down here. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then this is centimeters. Okay, so if you're wanting to, and it has a grid, if you're wanting to make things like super precise, you can do that. Then what we're gonna do is I'm gonna go ahead and trim away all of this. Okay, so I don't need any of that. I'm gonna trim that away. So then this is the pretty side. I'm going to take the pretty side and I'm going to stick it just like this. And I can see through the foil, you know, the imaging, right? Okay, so I'm going to hit the timer again and let this just kind of sit here for a minute. I've got a like an A2 size sheet of cardstock. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to trim off this foil at the bottom, and I will foil just the 1 sentiment that I want to use. Okay, and this is a learning thing, so I think I just need to stick to when the first time I used the machine to try it out, I just did super, super, super slow through the Platinum 6, and I did not go back and forth. I am going to trim off this here. Okay, so that will be for the sentiment that we're going to do, and I'm going to trim away. Oh, the timer light is ready. I'm just going to trim this away. We're going to be cutting this a particular way. Anyway, this is now scrap. I'm just going to put it in the trash. I don't need it. It is just paper. All right, we are going to put our cardstock on here. I'm just going to make sure that it's kind of with these grid lines. We have our 2 plates. Right. So we'll grab the Platinum 6 again, bring that in. Okay. We're going to pull this off the platform, bring it over, and then now I'm going to run it extremely slow through here. All right, so once it kind of gets up to the cardstock, I'm just going to go really, really, really slow, like obnoxiously slow. All right, so now I went really, really slow through that, and I am just going to go very, very slowly backwards. I'm not going to do like I did before where I was just running it back and forth. So here I'm just going to bring it back toward me, and I'm going very, very, very slowly. There we go. Needed to bring it all the way out. Okay, so let's check and see how this did. I've seen this foil plate used several times. I've never personally used it myself for obvious reasons. All of this is new. Pull up that. All right, that did a really nice job. Now, here's what's gonna happen. When I trim this down and make it like kind of pretty, I've conserved all this foil, and now I have some new image, like I just have a new image, and I could put this on a card, place a sentiment, and be done. What I like about this is that I don't have to throw this sheet away. I can actually use it, and to me, that is win-win. I'm gonna grab this press plate. Look how, this is actually pretty heavy. This is holding that. That's amazing. All right, so one last time. Now this time right here, okay, I'm gonna put this back just like that. We're gonna let that platform heat up again. Okay, so if you're ever not sure, that it works really good with the bigger shapes, but let's say that I don't want this to move around. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to place this right here, and I will be fussy cutting that out. What I'm going to do now is I am going to just grab a little piece of tape here and here, okay? And this will be like a hinge, but this little press plate isn't going to move around like it did last time. Okay, so we're going to just wait for that to heat up. So while we do that, I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to place it with this face down, And then I'll show you how we're gonna put the foil on there. All right, you can see that my platform is ready. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to get this piece of paper and I'm going to kind of pull it up. And again, that tape is there like a hinge. Actually, I'm gonna cut this. I don't need the entire piece here. So I'll cut about half of that, because I can save that for another project. All right, I'm going to lift up my paper, and then just like I did before, the gold is gonna go on face down. So we're gonna make the pretty side go face down. I'm just gonna kind of stick that right in there, just like so. I'm gonna very carefully watch it to make sure that it's on top of my sentiment. Place that down, okay. Hit my little timer. I'm just gonna kind of let that sit there for a minute. So this is another way that you can make sure that your little plate doesn't move around. All right, now that my timer button has stopped flashing, we're gonna cover that with both of those plates, pull it off again, and we're gonna run it through. I am gonna go ahead and move this out of the way since I will not be needing the machine anymore after that. Bring this in. Okay, now because the tape is holding that press plate in place, I am gonna go forward and backward, but I don't have to worry about it moving. Like, it's not gonna go anywhere. Also, down here, this is where it is. So down here, once I get to that spot, I can just go backwards. And I forgot that I was gonna go super, super, super slow. Move that off to the side, pull up these plates, and hopefully this time I did a good job. That is kind of warm. I'm grabbing that with my tweezers, kind of getting that tape off of there. All right, so now look how beautiful that foiled. It's gorgeous, and it's only one impression. We won't be seeing double on that one. So that is fabulous. All right, let me pull off this tape or at least pull the foil off. And then I'll place that over on the little mat to cool, and we can move this out of the way. All right, so while I have this out, I am going to very quickly go ahead and die cut these leaves. Even if I end up not using them, I have the materials out. It's just so easy to go ahead and run this through. And if I don't use them, I'll just stick them in this little cellophane bag with, you know, these dies, and they can just hang out in the back. Let's get our little platform here. I'm just going to use this while it is out. Okay, we have our cardstock. I have these little leaves right here. And since it is handy, I will just grab a tiny piece of this tape. Tiny piece there. We'll go like that. Tiny piece there. So those are not going to move. Top plate. And then this is just going to go through. All right, and now I am officially done with the Platinum 6. So I can remove the plate, and then I can remove the die, and then I have these leaves right here. And those are absolutely beautiful. Perfect, I love those. So I'll just set those aside for right now. And we might use them and we might not. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit. Okay, and I'm gonna bring over my alcohol markers. All right, and again, this is the inspiration colors. I just have them off here to the side, and I am going to start coloring away. I will be speeding up the film at this time, but basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to get an alcohol marker. So this particular one is Y821 called Rocky Shore, and it's like a really pretty brown. Okay, it's this one right here. And I thought that would be great for the branch that the bird is on. Okay, so I'm gonna very lightly color. I'm going to try and stay, well, I'm gonna stay within the foil lines, but I am also going to, I'm not gonna go over foil lines if I can help it. Like I can go up to them, next to them, but I don't really want to go on top of them. And this foil will kind of resist the color just as if it was embossing powder. Okay, so just like that. You can still see the foil, but now I have a very distinct color. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna let that just kind of dry for a second. I'm gonna go ahead and color the rest of this, and then we will move on to the next thing. All right, so my coloring is done. I wanted the bird, you know, kind of like Valentine's-y. I wanted a red bird, so I looked them up on my phone, images of red birds, and I wanted everything else to just kind of take a back seat to the red bird. I have some pink flowers, very soft, yellow centers, and then the green leaves. And I think that has just come out so good. Now, the little bitty gold circles that you see, like right here, I'm not gonna fill those in. I'm gonna let them just sit there and shine and be beautiful. Now, the other thing I want to show you is right here on this very tip, I'm gonna go along the edge of the gold because it's kind of like I got my red outside of the lines, okay? And I don't think anybody's really gonna notice that, but you can do that if you kind of go outside of the lines. Just use a little gel pen and that will kind of cover that up. Let's zoom out. Very good. I'm gonna move all of these out of the way. I ended up not using a couple of the greens. And I had this out because I was wondering, I was kind of worried, like, would some of this ink just sit on top? That's kind of what I was worried about. Some, you know, alcohol inks dry like super fast, but I didn't know how they would be sitting on top of the foil. So embossing, if you color or watercolor or anything on top, or ink blend even on top of embossing powder, you do have to wipe it off, but wow, this just worked beautiful. I don't even really have to do anything. Okay, so now while I'm here and at it, I'm going to do one more thing with color, and then I'm going to be done with color, and we're going to put this card together. Okay, and now I am a very slow crafter, by the way, so, well, colorer. I'm taking some Artichoke by C9, Concord and Ninth, and I am just going to go over the bottom part of these leaves. And I was thinking that we could tuck these leaves around the diamond, but we'll see. You know, it might be too much. It might be obnoxious and we don't like them. But then I thought it would be nice to have a little bit of dimension to our leaves. Okay, so let me show you the difference here. So here are leaves that are not they're not ink blended. And then there are my leaves that are ink blended. Look at that, isn't that gorgeous? So let me just do the other one super fast. The beauty of this is I don't have to be perfect. You know, nature is perfect, but it's imperfectly perfect. So what I mean by that is, you know, lines and curves and all kinds of things. It's like they don't have to be perfectly square and all of that. So anyway, I'm just gonna ink blend these little leaves right here. Okay, and then there's this one. That looks gorgeous. And this will dry back a little bit. And what that means is like the ink will kind of seep into the fibers of the paper and it'll just smooth out and just look lovely. All right, beauty of a glass mat is spray a little bit of rubbing alcohol and wipe that up. Nice and clean. All right, so we're gonna kind of get all of these elements ready to go. Now I do need to fussy cut the sentiment, and I will also need to fussy cut around here, but I wanna show you what I do sometimes. Like I don't have a die for this, and I really like the organic edges. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take the press plate, just like this, see right there? And I'm gonna lay it face down on top of my image, just like this. And I'm gonna make sure that I have the whole image covered. And then I have a pencil and I'm gonna be extremely light-handed and I'm not gonna dig in. I'm just gonna go kind of along the edge. And I'm just gonna very lightly let my pencil just go around the perimeter, just like this. And what this is going to do is it will give me a guide for my fussy cutting. And I just have my pencil straight up and down. I don't have it angled at all. So it's perpendicular to my mat and my paper. But I'm just going around. It takes no time at all. All right. So just like this. And then what I will do here in just a moment is I will use these scissors and I will fussy cut on that line or just inside that line. It will give me a little bit of a white border, okay? But it'll allow me to have a really nice cut around there. I'm gonna go ahead and do the same thing here. Let's see. Let's do this. So I'm just going to go around this one. All right, so there is that one. Okay, so we have that. And then I am going to fussy cut these and I will be right back. All right, I have all of my fussy cutting done. Now, I want to show you something. So in addition to cutting around and all, if you take a Teflon bone folder, and if there's any places that look a little rough that you don't like, maybe they just, I don't know, they don't look quite as smooth as they could be, you just kind of run your Teflon bone folder over that spot and it can help smooth that out. All right, now I'm not the world's best fussy cutter. I normally either have the metal dies or my Cricut cut things out for me, but I really wanted to cut this, all right? And I did the same thing here with that one. And then I put this on the black cardstock and I drew a line around that so that I could have the sentiment kind of have like a little shadow, okay? So kind of like that, all right? I thought that would just be a little bit better. All right, let's get this card squared away. All right, so this is the 110-pound cardstock along the 11-inch side, I'm going to cut this at 5.5. Okay, so this is now 8.5 by 5.5. I'm going to bring in my little mini scoreboard. I am, from each end, I'm going to come in and I'm going to do 2 1/8. So 2 1/8, and I'm going to make a score line here at 2 1/8. And then I'm going to turn this around and I'm going to do 2 1/8 again. I want to make a gatefold card. So what that means is I want the card to come in together. I am going to turn this over. Make sure that's kind of lined up. Give it a press. Okay. And then I'm going to turn this one over and bring it to the middle. And everything should line up. And I'm going to give that a press. Okay. So this is a gatefold card. So it opens like a gate. But on top of that, we're going to have this. And I was thinking that I'm not going to fussy cut the black. I'm just going to kind of leave it as small of a margin as possible. What I want to do is figure out how big this is. So each side is about 3.5. And then that side is 3.5. So these are all 3.5. I need to cut basically a rhombus shape, so to speak. So let's see about that. This would be where it would cut there. This would probably be about where it would cut right there. Probably about right there. And again, right there. So I'm going to bring in this paper trimmer and I'm going to see if I can line up these places. See how good I can do this. So these little markings that I made. Let's see how good of a job I did. Okay, I didn't do such a great job right there, but I probably could cover that up with a sentiment. I can trim this up just a little bit, but I could put the sentiment right down here and it would kind of cover up that little wonkiness. You know, and then this is a handmade card. So quite frankly, handmade cards are not exactly perfect. I am going to grab my little mini Misty. I'm going to put this down in here. Line that up. We're going to do this sentiment. Have that there. I just want to do the inside. And I'm going to do, I think you're wonderful. I'm going to turn my Misty like this. And I'm going to put this right here. I'm going to close the door, lined up. All right. I'm going to go over this. I've not used this particular stamp, so I'm going to go over it, pull off that manufacturer coating. I know it sounds weird, but I'm going to grab a little piece of acetate. I'm just going to place that right here because I can wipe the ink off of this. I'm going to grab my ink. I love VersaFine Clear for sentiments. They are so crisp. I just want to stamp this down. I'm not going to let that move. And I want to see how lined up that, like, is it in the center and all of that. So let me line that back up one more time. All right, let's just a little bit. I just want to make sure that it looks as straight as possible. I think I'm just going to go with it. I don't want to keep playing with this. Here we go. Hopefully If it is off, it is just microscopically off. If it is really bad, then I'll just do a new card base. We're going to close this. And I'm just going to press lightly, give it a second to transfer, pick it up. Oh, look at that. That looks fantastic. I don't need to do anything. Okay, so let's bring in all of these little goodies over here. All right, so now what I want to do is I am going to, this is a piece of craft foam. It has double-sided adhesive tape on both sides. And I want to use this to stabilize the bird. And then I will just use regular adhesive to put that down. Okay, so let's see here. I don't want the adhesive to show through the front. So I'm cutting that off just like that. We can use this in other places. So when I look here, I don't see any adhesive. And then what I'm going to do is trim off that little overhang. This right here can go on that side. I can put a right good size sliver over here. All right, so now I'm going to take the release papers off of this side. Got the back all taken care of. Now this will help if there was, if there's any warping from the foiling, the heat, then this will help. Kind of get that like a little diamond there. And then I'm going to come in as nicely done as possible. Okay. And see how it's a little wonky right here? I can actually use these leaves. So we will be using these leaves. That will be great. Okay. So I'm going to grab my Barely Art glue, decide where I want these leaves, put that in there like so. I could even trim it down some, but it'll cover that up. I could have one over here. So, or I guess I could have one up here, make it a little more asymmetrical. So it'll look like that. That is going to look fantastic. So let me get some glue here on this back. And I'm going to stick that right up under there. Okay. So that's great. I'm just going to kind of set that right there, give it some pressure. And then this one down here. Now what I might do is cut off that tiny little stem. And we're going to get glue here. And then we're going to tuck that right up in here so that these leaves are kind of hiding my little imperfection. Okay, so we have this. Isn't that gorgeous? Then I'm going to just glue this down onto the black cardstock. With that, try to get this as even as possible. And again, microscopically, my fussy cutting is not the best, but you know what? That is okay. I can handle that. Then, hopefully this is dry by now. I am going to close this up. In fact, yeah, I'm going to close this up just like so. All right. And we are going to put this on half. So like that. All right. I'm only going to put glue like over here. Actually, I need to move that out of the way. So, and I don't need to put it on the leaves. The leaves will overhang, and that's okay. The foam that I have between this black panel and the bird is great for making it very sturdy and professional. Okay, let me do this. I don't want to mess that up. I am going to line up the top corner and the edge, and then that bottom corner, theoretically, right? Okay, here we go. And I don't have any glue overhang, so that's beautiful. This looks fantastic. Okay, and then when it goes in an envelope, this is what it looks like. Now I will have to use an envelope a little bit bigger than A2. So this would probably, I would probably put this in like, you know, like a 4x6. No, not a 4x6. I probably would put this in like a 5x7 envelope. All right, so let's get that down and let's decide where we want this sentiment. I'm thinking, I really hate to cover up that flower. I kind of hate to cover up the bird, but if I put it here, you can see a little bit of his foot and a little bit of that flower. All right. And then I think over here, I need a tiny sliver of foam just in that little bitty spot because it's going to have this overhang. Put that there and I'm going to test it out to see. That is even Steven. That's perfect. That's the perfect amount. So I will take the release paper off of that and then I'll just put glue here, just like this. Close it back up again. And then I'm going to come in and again, I want to see at least one little foot from that bird, just one little foot and part of that flower and kind of on the edge there. And we're going to put it like that. Okay, and we're going to let that sit for just a second. All right, and the last thing that I would like to do is turn it over. And I'm going to put my little logo sticker. I just make these on my Cricut. I'm going to put that right down here. And look at that, it even matches, right? Matches, it's so perfect. Okay, so let's take a look. This was the inspiration of our colors. I think that's pretty good. This has a lot more pink in it, I know, but I think that did great. So now here's the card. Yes, this overhang, I'm going to leave it.
Thank you all so much for watching today. I'm so glad that you can join me at my craft table. If you're not already, I'd love to have you as a subscriber and don't forget to hit that notification bell. That way you'll know when new videos arrive. Have a great day and as always, happy crafting.